Okay, so here we are, the greatly anticipated answers to the sections that we did in Lesson 2. So the first thing we have is Lesson 2.2. We're looking at warmer and colder temperatures. Now, I'm sure a lot of this looks fairly easy and straightforward. However, the one thing that I'm sure that you're not used to being careful of is the fact that we're going to do all of these as addition problems. And I know at first glance, probably you're tempted to do them as, or some of them at least, as a subtraction problem. But you have to remember we're doing all of them as subtraction problem, or excuse me, addition problems. So that's why we've already got our arrow right here. It's already on 40 and it's already pointing to the right, because that's what all of these will be. As you see, they all are starting at positive 40, and we're adding for all of them. So those things are not going to change at all for any of these. So that's going to make things a little bit strange, perhaps for some of them, but certainly not for all of them. Okay, so the first one right here, they set up here, but let's take a look at what that looks like on the number line, because as you know, they did provide you a number line for all of them, including A. So we start, it says we start at positive 40, which is what we've done right here. 10 degrees warmer. Well, warmer, of course, means positive 10. Whoops. Trying to write a little small, it's not quite working. Positive 10, okay? So adding means I'm facing to the right, and positive means I'm moving forward. And in this case, I'm moving forward 10 places. So that means forward is, I'm facing to the right, so forward goes in this direction, and I move forward 10, so that would bring me here to 50. So I know that the equation that we've already got written out here is 40 plus positive 10, we don't need to put that extra positive in there, equals 50, and here's my answer, positive 50. Okay, so the next thing that we're doing here is part B. So again, we start at positive 40, 5 degrees colder. 5 degrees colder means negative 5, because it's going to go down, right? We think about temperature, 5 degrees colder, it's going further down towards 0, perhaps even below 0, okay? So we still start at positive 40, we're still facing to the right. Now we have to decide which way to move. We have a negative number, so that means we move back, and in this particular case, we're moving back 5 places. So we're going in this direction, and because they already gave me the number line, I have to be careful not to make anything too long or go too far. I'm going to end right here on positive 35. Okay, so that means that I'm going to start at 4. I'm going to write my equation. Where did I start? I forgot to write down here. I end at positive 35. Okay, so my addition equation, I start at 40. I'm adding. What am I adding to it? I'm adding negative 5. And I've landed at positive 35. So the answer, final place here is positive 35. Next, see, each of these I've already set up because I'm starting at positive 40 and I'm facing to the right. Now this one is 30 degrees colder. Colder means negative, so this is negative 30. So if it's negative, it means I'm moving to the back, and in this particular case, I'm moving back 30. So because I'm facing to the right, back goes in this direction. Remember, we only face right or left, we move back or front, okay? So moving back 30, so that of course is going to bring me back to 10 right here. I'm going again in this direction. It ends here at positive 10. So the final answer is positive 10. If I write that out, I'm going to have 40 plus negative 30. And remember that parentheses is in there just to separate the plus from the negative sign, just so that it doesn't look too confusing. Okay, so 40 plus negative 30 equals 10. I've already written that as my final answer here, positive 10. Next, I've started at positive 40. I'm facing to the right. This is getting 40 degrees colder, so it means it's negative 40. Negative means I move back. How many places do I move back? I move back 40. Okay, so back, of course, is in the opposite direction of where I'm facing. I'm moving back 40, so I'm going to get all the way to the 0. Right? So, remember I moved in this direction. I ended here at 0 because that distance is 40. Okay? Move back 40, I end up at 0. So this is 40 plus negative 40 equals 0. Now you might also recall that those are opposites. They cancel each other out. I've got 40 positives and 40 negatives. They cancel each other out. I'm left with 0. It's a 0 pair. Next one, already starting at 40, facing to the right. In this case, I'm getting 50 degrees colder, so that's negative 50. So that means I'm moving back 50 places. Now, I know that the distance from 40 to 0 is 40, but I have to move back 50, so I'm going to go 10 more and land right here. So I'm landing at negative 10. That's where I end. So I've got 40 plus negative 50 equals negative 10. Answer here, negative 10. Okay, next. I'm going to complete this table and draw a number line diagram for each situation. Now they did provide us with the number line, so I don't actually have to draw it. And I did go ahead, just like the last one, because each and every one of these starts at negative 20. They're all starting at the same place. So I've gone ahead and I put that in here, and also these two things. I'm starting at negative 20, and I'm facing to the right every time because I'm adding. Okay. So let's look at this first one. I start at negative 20. I'm facing to the right because I'm adding. I'm going to move. Well, this says 30 degrees warmer. So that's a positive 30. 30 degrees warmer. Okay. So warmer means I go forward. Positive, means I go forward. And in this case, I'm going to go forward 30 places or 30 units. So I'm at negative 20. I'm facing to the right. So forward means I continue to go to the right. Now you'll notice from negative 20 to 0, that's 20 places. I'm moving 30, so I need to move 10 more and get here to positive 10. So my answer is positive 10. So the problem I just did was starting at negative 20. Facing to the right means I'm adding. I'm adding positive 30. I didn't really need to put that parentheses and the 30 in there, but just to be consistent with the others. And I did discover that that is equal to 10. So my final answer here is positive 10. And that does look a little bit like a T. Let me fix that just to make it so it's not so weird looking. Okay, next problem. Again, starting at negative 20, facing to the right because I'm adding. 35 degrees warmer. So again, that's positive because it's warmer, 35. So it's positive, moving forward. And in this case, I'm moving forward 35 places. Okay, so if I'm facing to the right, forward is in that same direction that I'm facing. 20 to 0 is still 20. I have to get 35 places, so I'm going to keep going. That's 25, 30, 35 right here. Okay, I'm landing or ending at positive 15. So the problem that I just did was I started at negative 20. I faced to the right, that means I'm adding. I'm adding positive 35. In this case, I'm just going to write 35. Either way is the same. Negative 20 plus 35, we found out, equals positive 15. So my final answer is positive 15. Next, same thing to begin with, starting at negative 20, facing to the right because I'm adding. What am I adding? 15 degrees warmer, so that's positive 15. Positive means I move forward. In this case, I'm moving forward 15. So I'm here at negative 20, and I need to go 15 places. Now, don't forget, the distance from negative 20 to 0 is 20, and I'm not even moving 20, I'm moving 15. So let's go. From negative 20 to negative 15 is 5, 10, 15. You don't have to do all that, but I'm making sure that you really understand how we got from one to the next. So I was facing to the right, I'm moving forward because it's a positive number. I moved 15, I ended up with negative 5. So to write that out, I've got negative 20 plus 15 equals negative 5. Final answer of negative 5. Next, I've got same things to begin with. Start at negative 20, face to the right because I'm adding. What's happening? 15 degrees colder. Okay, so it means it's a negative number. And I'm negative 15. Negative tells me I'm moving back. In this case, I'm moving back 15. Okay, so facing to the right, that means back is going in the opposite direction. Back 15. So remember, these are 5, 10, 15 places. I'm going to end here at negative 35. So I've got negative 20 plus negative 15, and that's equal to negative 35. Final answer here, negative 35. Okay, so now we need to apply that. They didn't give us the number line. We just have to take this information and use what we know. So in Houston, it's 8 degrees Celsius. Okay, need to find the temperature in these other cities. Explain or show my reasoning. Well, explaining or showing my reasoning means that I am going to, use my number line. Start, face, move, end. So here I am. I've got start, face, move, end. In Orlando, it's 10 degrees warmer than Houston. So that means I'm starting with Houston. So let's just keep in mind I'm going from Houston to Orlando. The temps. Okay, so we aren't confused about what we're doing. So we're starting in Houston where it's 8 degrees Celsius. And I know that all I've been learning to do here is add. So if I grab my number line here, I put 8 in the center because this is where I'm starting. Right? I'm adding in all of these, so I'm going to face to the right, just like I did in all the other ones, up to this point. And don't worry, we'll be subtracting before we know it. Okay, so I'm facing to the right. This says 10 degrees warmer, so that's positive 10. So I'm moving, and positive, that would be forward 10 places. Facing to the right, I'm going to keep going in the way I'm facing. And this is 10 places. 10 places I moved forward. So 10 places forward from 8 is going to be 18. So I'm going to end. Okay, so that is positive. The answer is positive 18. And let's just take a look at what that looks like written out as an equation. I would start at 8. I'm facing right, so I add. I go forward 10, that means it's a positive 10, ends at positive 18. Now, this is a really easy problem. I'm guessing you probably already knew the answer to that. But again, like we've said lots of times, we start with those easy problems because eventually in the not too distant future, they're going to get more difficult. Okay, so we're back to Houston is 8 degrees Celsius. In Salt Lake City, it is 8 degrees colder than it is in Houston. So I don't want to forget. Start, face, move, end. You might want to get in the habit of just putting this down first thing so you don't forget. Salt Lake City, 8 degrees colder than Houston. Means again, I'm going to start with Houston to find Salt Lake City. The temperatures is what I'm looking for. Okay, start. I'm starting at Houston where it is 8 degrees. I'm facing to the right because I'm adding. Let's draw this out before I get too confused and too far in. So I'm starting here at the 8. Whoops. So I'm starting. Facing to the right because that's all I know how to do yet. Face to the right means I'm adding. Okay, now move. 8 degrees colder. Colder means -8. If it's negative, I'm moving back. And in this case, I'm moving back 8 places. So I'm moving away from or back from the place I'm facing. So I'm moving in this direction. I'm going to move 8 places. Well, if I move 8 places in this direction, I'm going to end up at 0 because my start is 8 places away from 0. So I now end at 0. Write this out in its equation form. I'm starting at 8. I'm facing to the right, so it's an addition problem. I'm moving back 8, that's a -8. I end at 0. My answer is 0. Next, in Minneapolis, it is 20 degrees colder than it is in Houston. Okay, in Minneapolis, 20 degrees colder than it is in Houston. In Houston, I know it's 8 degrees Celsius. Okay, again, I've got my start, face, move, end. I'm going from Houston to Minneapolis. Again, the temperature. I know some of you are like, I don't know what that says. Oh, I'm sorry. That's temperature. If you don't know what it says, listen to my words because I promise I'll tell you. And I am writing with this weird stencil thing, so everything isn't always as beautiful as we'd like it. But all the answers are here. You just have to pay attention. So where am I starting? At Houston, which is 8. I'm facing to the right because I'm adding. Let's draw myself my number line. Starting here at 8. I'm facing to the right because I'm adding. Move. 20 degrees colder. Colder is a negative number. If it's negative, I know I'm moving back. In this particular case, I'm moving back 20. Moving back away from the place I'm facing. Moving back 20. Now, I gotta be careful because I know there's a stop here at 0, because from 0 to 8, this is 8. So I'm going to keep moving. I have to go 20. So if I've already gone 8, that means I need to go 12 more before I end. Okay, from 0, I'm going 12 away from 0 into the negative places. That's going to be -12 is my end place. End at -12. Let's write it out so we can see it. I start at 8. I'm facing to the right because I'm adding. I'm going back 20. It means it's -20. And that equals -12. Next problem. In Fairbanks, okay, it is 10 degrees colder than it is in Minneapolis. Gotta be careful here. I'm not using Houston at all this time. So I'm still going to start, face, move, and end. But this time I'm starting in Minneapolis and going to Fairbanks. So I just found the temperature in Minneapolis. Okay, and the temperature in Minneapolis was -12. I'm going to make my number line. Put my -12 in the beginning, or in the middle, because that's where I'm starting. And I know I'm facing to the right because I'm adding. Okay, 10 degrees colder tells me it's negative 10. Negative means I move back. I'm moving back 10. So away from the place I'm facing, I move back 10 and I stop. So I'm moving further away. Remember, 0 is up here somewhere, right? Moving further away from 0. So that would be negative 12, negative 13, etc., etc. I'm going back 10. That would give me negative 22. So my end place is negative 22. Let's write that out so I can see it. My start is at negative 12. I'm adding. I'm going back 10. That's negative. And that's equal to negative 22. Okay, write an addition equation that represents the relationship between the temperature in Houston and the temperature in Fairbanks. Okay, well, I can actually do this two different ways. Okay, let's take a look at what happens. It has to be addition, so I know that I'm starting with my Houston to Minneapolis. So that, if I remember, was 8 plus negative 20. And then I took the answer from that, as that was the negative 12, and I added negative 10 plus negative 10. And I should end with this answer here of negative 22. So I do have two choices as to how I go about this, okay? Oops. Just go back to this. Okay, so typically I would go in order from right to left because I'm adding. So if I go in order from right to left, that would give me my problem right here, 8 plus negative 20. I know that would be negative 12. I bring this down, plus negative 10. And oh look, that's right there. I know my answer would be negative 22. So it tells me to write an addition equation that represents the relationship between. So I could just take what I wrote here, because it says an equation, so it has to have an equal sign, and make it equal to my negative 22. So if I were to do that, I would have 8, whoops, I would have 8 plus negative 20 plus negative 10 equals negative 22. Or I could have also written just this, because that's the same thing, but it really doesn't start me with an 8. So I can't, even though they end up in the same place. So this would be my final answer. Or I do have another option. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next page here. If I had 8 plus negative 20 plus negative 10. We're going to talk about this later on too. I'm adding. So when I add, I can add in any order. Now, if I were subtracting here, I wouldn't be able to do it, but I know that I can add in any order. So what I'd like to do is to add together my two negatives. When we add multiple numbers that are positives and negatives, it makes our world a whole lot easier if we add together all the negatives and the positives. In this case, we only have one positive, and then add the answers to both. Okay, so if I were to do that, I've got negative 20 plus negative 10. So if I were to go off to the start here, start, face, move, end, I would start at negative 20. Start at negative 20. I'm going to face to the right because I'm adding. and I'm going to move. I'm going to move negative 10, so negative means I'm going to move back, and in this case 10. In this case I'm going to move 10, back 10. So here I am on my number line. I'm starting at negative 20. I'm going to face to the right. I'm moving back 10, so back means away from the place I'm facing. Remember, I'm going, 0 is way up here somewhere. I'm going away from 0. So if I move in this direction 10 places, I'm going to end up at negative 30. That's my end place. So that means the answer to this right here would be negative 30. So then I would bring this down. I'd have 8 plus negative 30. So the reason I bring us here is because you could write this right here as your equation. Let's take a look at that. Does it give me the right answer? Let's make sure. I'm going to go over here, down at the bottom, just so I'm out of the way. Start, face, move, end. I'm starting at 8. I'm facing right. I'm moving back 30. So if I have my number line, here it is. I'm going to start at 8. I'm going to face to the right. I'm going to go back 30. So that means I'm going away from the place I'm facing. I'm actually going to make this a little bit longer. Okay, I'm moving back 30, so I have to pass by 0. From 8 to 0, that's 8 places. Go on 8, I need to go 30. That means I need to go another 22. I'm going to land right here at negative 22. Negative 22. So that means this is going to be equal to negative 22. So it still makes me start at Houston, which is what it said, make an addition problem to show going from Houston to Fairbanks. Sorry, I forgot where we were. So to write that problem, I would start with that equation, I should say, because it did say to write an equation. Okay, I'm going to write 8 plus negative 30 equals negative 22. And that right there is your final answer. So you could have had either one of those. Hopefully you had at least one of them, and please, feel free to add the other one in so you can see it in your notes.